When Kara Lawson first heard about Caitlin Clark's $10 million deal with Nike, she wasn't just surprised, she was floored. The deal isn't just big, it's unprecedented. While Lawson has long advocated for equity in the women's game, even she couldn't have predicted a contract of this scale, eclipsing anything seen in WNBA history. The move instantly vaults Clark past every other female athlete in terms of endorsement earnings and positions her not just as a star, but as a commercial centerpiece of the league. It's a jarring leap, especially considering that more seasoned players, including Lawson herself during her coaching and commentary roles, have spent years pushing for a sliver of the spotlight, only to see it arrive suddenly and disproportionately. Nike isn't just signing a player, they're manufacturing a movement. If you're here for the real story and not the filtered version, subscribe. And if you're sticking around for the next meltdown, you better definitely subscribe. The brand's full-throttle commitment to Clark includes a signature shoe launch plan for global markets, an 8-year campaign, and a strategy explicitly modeled on past icons like LeBron and KD. The scale signals something bigger than basketball, a deliberate effort to redefine what's possible for women in sport and to sell that vision globally. But this also spotlights a growing divide. While Clark rises, the gap between her and other WNBA athletes widens, raising uncomfortable questions about race, representation, and long-standing market biases. The future of women's basketball may be brighter, but it's also at a crossroads. Caitlin Clark just signed a $10 million deal with Nike. $10 million. And just like that, the entire sports marketing world shifted. This isn't some performance bonus or collective bargaining upgrade. It's a signature deal straight from a Nike playbook that built global icons like LeBron and KD, and now it's backing a 22-year-old rookie from the WNBA. The numbers alone are jaw-dropping. 8 figures, 8 years, and a signature shoe already scheduled for global release in spring 2026. That means Nike isn't just betting on Clark to perform on the court. They're betting on her becoming a household name, a cultural presence, and a commercial engine. And by the looks of it, they're putting every ounce of marketing weight behind making sure that happens. Kara Lawson's stunned reaction when the deal broke said, well, a lot of people were thinking. She's watched generations of women's basketball players fight for relevance, recognition, and just basic respect. And now, Caitlin Clark is leap ahead. Not just because of her stats, but because she's become a marketable brand. Lawson, who's been vocal about equity and opportunity in the sport, knows this is a big moment, but one that also comes with baggage. There's no denying Clark's talent, but Lawson's surprise also hints at deeper undercurrents. Because while Clark's landing headline-making checks, there are veterans and all-stars who helped build this league who've never gotten close to this kind of payday. The question lingers, why now and why her? During her media appearance, Clark downplayed the glamour of it all. She thanked Nike, spoke about her excitement, and shifted the attention back to the game. But the cameras didn't miss the moment. This was a press conference that felt more like a brand launch. Nike's entire approach is different this time. This isn't about signing a WNBA athlete to check a diversity box. This is about launching a global product. A sneaker meant to move units, rack up resale value, and sit in collectors' displays. Her press run was less about strategy and more about image. An image that Nike has curated carefully, relatable, charismatic, and aspirational. And let's not ignore what Clark represents for Nike. A young, white, charismatic rookie playing for the Indiana Fever might not sound like a guaranteed global success, but Clark's college fan base and viral highlight reel changed that. Her Fever jersey sold out on day one. That's not normal for a first-year WNBA player. That's sneaker launch behavior. Nike knows the demo. Clark isn't just selling to WNBA diehards. She's pulling in NBA viewers, young fans on TikTok, middle school hoopers who never watched the women's game until she showed up. That broad appeal is exactly what makes her such a valuable brand asset. The gameplay backs it up. Clark's early WNBA games drew ratings that rivaled NBA coverage. Her first matchup against league veterans had fans tuning in like it was a finals rematch. Nike saw that in real time. They weren't just watching the stats. They were watching the market. And that's where the math starts to click. If a rookie's games are pulling in prime time numbers, why wouldn't you build a billion-dollar campaign around her? Her match photos aren't just sports photography, they're marketing collateral. Nike's rollout plan already mirrors what they did for LeBron and Durant. Slow drip storytelling, exclusive colorways, limited drops, and a highlight reel that becomes a sales pitch. Every crossover, deep three, and stare down becomes part of brand story. This is marketing through motion. Every game she plays feeds the hype cycle. Every buzzer beater sells more shoes. Her signature moves aren't just techniques. They're trademarks now. But there's another side to this. Some players, fans, and analysts are frustrated, and understandably so. Because while Clark is breaking records and getting the bag, others who've carried the WNBA on their backs for years are barely mentioned in these conversations. It's a tough pill to swallow. Players who've dominated the league, won championships, and paved the way aren't seeing this level of investment. Some are calling it a racialized dynamic, where a white, young, and camera-friendly athlete gets elevated faster than more seasoned, equally talented black players. That criticism isn't new, and this deal only amplifies it. Aya Wilson, one of the league's most decorated stars, has long been the face of consistency, dominance, and charisma, and yet her own endorsement trajectory looks modest in comparison. It's hard not to notice the disparity. Yes, Clark's audience pull is undeniable, but Wilson's legacy can't be overlooked. Nike has worked with her, but the machine behind Clark is on another level. The volume, the velocity, and the visibility, it's different. And that difference raises uncomfortable but necessary questions. And the pressure? It's enormous. With all this investment, Clark is now in a space where every injury, off night, or bad headline could affect not just a reputation, but a multi-million-dollar marketing plan. Nike's banking on longevity. But women's basketball hasn't seen this kind of hype machine before. Every hit she takes on the court becomes symbolic. Is she durable? Can she handle the pace? Will the media protect her the way it shields male stars? These are not casual questions. They shape the entire narrative moving forward. Zoom in on Clark's face in her latest promo shoots and game photos. You see the shift. This isn't just a college standout anymore. This is a brand being built in real time. The pressure to perform, stay marketable, and avoid controversy is already settling in. Nike is packaging her as more than an athlete. She's a test case for whether women's basketball can finally cross a line into cultural dominance. The weight of this deal doesn't just rest on sneakers. It's on her knees, her ankles, and every sprint she takes up the court. Injuries in the WNBA aren't uncommon. And for someone with this much money and marketing energy riding on her, the risk factor is high. Nike has watched what happens when injuries sideline stars. Endorsement momentum stalls, hype fades, and critics swoop in. With Clark, they're gambling on her ability to stay healthy through one of the most physically demanding periods of her career. That's not just about sports. It's about insurance, risk management, and a multi-million-dollar bet on. Clark's reach isn't limited to basketball either. Her LPGA golf appearance earlier this year was another signal. Nike isn't promoting just an athlete. They're marketing a lifestyle. The crossover appeal she's building isn't typical for most WNBA players. She's already being positioned as an all-sport influencer. And the message is clear. Nike want her everywhere. On the court at celebrity games, in golf tournaments, sitting front row at tennis matches. It's the same playbook they use to elevate male athletes into omnipresent brand icons. Clark's presence in those spaces adds layers to her market value, stretching her relevance across in Lexi Hull. Her media exposure with other league personalities like Sophie Cunningham and Lexi Hull shows the delicate balance Nike's trying to maintain. Clark isn't being positioned as separate from the league, but as the face of it, and that means giving space to fellow players while still letting her shine. The trio's recent public appearances felt more like a brand collaboration than teammates just hanging out. Nike's strategy appears calculated. Pair Clark with recognizable players, but always center the spotlight on her. It's subtle, but it's working. Even legends are weighing in. Sue Bird, who spent years pushing the league forward, acknowledged Clark's impact, but also hinted at the scale of the shift. There's admiration, yes, but there's also a quiet awareness that Clark is entering the game with tools that veterans never had access to. Sue fought for exposure during her prime. Clark is being handed it before she's even built a playoff resume. And while that's not her fault, it does spark reflection. The game is changing, but who it's changing for and who gets left behind is still a valid question. Clark herself has tried to deflect some of the intensity. She's emphasized team goals, growth, staying focused, and gratitude. But when she speaks now, it's with more polish. The sound bites are sharper, the interviews more on brand. It's the kind of media training you give someone who's no longer just an athlete, but a global spokesperson. Nike's voice is starting to echo through hers. And that's not shade. It's just a reality when you become the centerpiece of a billion-dollar rollout. Clark knows the stakes. Every word now matters. Her shot selection is still aggressive, and her confidence hasn't wavered, but every missed bucket now trends. Every slump becomes content. The margin for error is razor thin when your name is on the marquee. Nike's expecting those deep threes and fearless drives to be part of the brand identity. But sports are unpredictable, and even the best shooters go cold. How Nike handles those inevitable lows, whether they double down or pivot, will reveal how deep their commitment really is. The images of Clark in her Indiana Fever uniform are already being used like promo materials. The color grading, the lighting, the angles, it's all curated to tell a story. Not a rookie learning the ropes, but of a phenom already owning the stage. She's in the early stages of her professional career, but the visuals suggest otherwise. Nike's fast-tracking her mythos, skipping the slow build and jumping straight into iconography. It's bold, but it leaves little room for failure. And under the surface, there's a quiet tension, because for all the celebration, there's also resentment from fans, from players, from parts of the WNBA community who've been doing the work without the headlines. Clark has been candid about wanting to grow the game, but the way she's become the singular focus brings up hard questions. Is this really growth if it's only centered on one figure? Or is it just a new version of the same old model? One star, one story, one spotlight? At her last press conference, the mood was equal parts celebration and corporate. Nike rep sat just off camera. Her answers were tight, her posture more formal than usual. This wasn't post-game chatter. It was a product announcement with a basketball backdrop. She's no longer just responding to questions about her game. She's fielding inquiries about brand values, commercial impact, and global rollout strategy. That kind of shift doesn't come without pressure. It's not just a crossover that matters. It's the conversions. Diana Taurasi, one of the fiercest competitors and most respected names in the sport, has also responded to the deal. Her tone was measured, but layered. On one hand, there's excitement. Any spotlight on the league is a win. But there's also that familiar sting, knowing that her prime years didn't come with this kind of institutional support. Taurasi's not bitter. She's experienced. She's seen hype before. She's also seen how quickly it fades when the game gets tough. Her subtle reminders to give it time aren't dismissals. They're cautionary tales. Because legends aren't built on contracts alone. When Clark finally addressed the magnitude of the Nike deal directly, her tone was calm, maybe even rehearsed. She thanked the fans. She acknowledged the history. She gave Nike their due. But behind the polished delivery, you could still sense the awareness that she wasn't just celebrating a win, she was navigating a minefield. Because any slip in wording could ignite backlash. She's being asked to carry the weight of representation, endorsement politics, and cultural momentum, all while still adjusting to the WNBA. That's not an ordinary rookie transition. That's a crash course in being the face of an entire movement. And the moment she took that hard foul last week, social media went into full meltdown. Some fans called it targeted. Others said it was just basketball. But what it really showed was how high the stakes are now. Every hit isn't just physical, it's symbolic. Is she being protected enough? Is she being tested too early? Is the league treating her like the future? Or just watching to see if she breaks? These aren't just rhetorical. The money Nike's poured into her brand means every bruise is also a financial risk. And then came the discourse, the think pieces. The side-by-side comparisons with other players who've done more for longer and still don't have a tenth of her exposure. Clark's not asking for this imbalance, but she's the face of it now. The tension isn't just jealousy, it's systemic. The league's long history of underpromotion, especially of black stars, is being dragged back into the spotlight. And Clark, whether she likes it or not, is at the center of that storm. The branding machine, meanwhile, doesn't slow down. Game photos from every angle, edited in real time, slapped with stylized filters and posted like ads. Even her defense clips look cinematic. Nike isn't building an athlete. They're constructing a myth. That curated visibility is what separates her from everyone else. Not just because of her game, but because of how she's being packaged. She's not a player with a deal. She is the campaign. The questions at her most recent press conference weren't even about the game. Reporters wanted to know about rollout dates, future collabs, and which sneaker influencers got early access to her prototypes. Basketball felt like the side hustle, and that's the gamble. When your brand outpaces your stats, the expectations turn brutal. One weak quarter, one awkward answer, and suddenly the same machine that elevated you starts pulling back. Clark's every public appearance is now part performance, part product pitch. On the court, Clark's still launching from the logo like she has something to prove. And in a way, she does. There are fans rooting for her, yes, but also a crowd waiting to see if the hype will finally collapse under the weight of expectations. Every made shot buys her more time. Every miss invites more noise. It's a tightrope, and the safety net is made of Nike stock options and sneaker pre-orders. Zoom in on her during timeouts. There's a flash of something. Focus, yes, but also fatigue. She's living under a spotlight that never turns off. And when your face is being used to market an entire league, there's no room to breathe. Even off the court, her expressions are scrutinized. Did she look disappointed? Was that frustration? Is she losing her spark? The speculation never ends. And it's all tied to sales projections, ad dollars, and corporate expectations. Meanwhile, players like Angel Reese are carrying their own momentum, drawing crowds, building fan bases, and doing it without the $10 million check. The contrast between them is already part of the discourse. Reese, vocal and unfiltered, has become a counter-narrative, a reminder that there's more than one way to grow the game. The tension isn't personal, but the spotlight is clearly tilted toward Clark, leaving players like Reese to carve their own paths through a much tougher PR landscape. And Aya Wilson's comments haven't gone unnoticed either. She's expressed support, but also questioned the visibility gap. Why aren't her games getting the same push? Why didn't her MVP seasons earn the same headlines? The imbalance didn't start with Clark, but it's hard to ignore now. Wilson has done everything right, and still feels like she's operating in a different tier of media attention. Clark's deal isn't just about money. It's about who gets a microphone, the billboard, the top slot, and the highlight reel. The proof is in the merch. Her Indiana Fever jersey sold out in hours. Limited drops, restocks, and resale chaos followed. Nike knew exactly what they were doing. This wasn't about representing a team. It was a calculated move to test her draw, and she passed. Her jersey is now treated like a collector's item, not because of championships, not because of legacy, but because she's the name Nike decided to push hardest. That power doesn't just boost sales. It defines culture. Look at the imagery Nike's pushing out now. Her in-game photos aren't just posted. They're staged, filtered, cut into trailers, layered with music, dropped into curated storylines. This isn't amateur media coverage. It's Madison Avenue. When Clark drives to the hoop, the camera's already locked in. It's all being fed into the campaign pipeline. Sports footage, but stylized for virality. And every piece is designed to turn viewers into consumers. Nike isn't just launching a shoe. They're launching a narrative. And every time Clark steps in front of Mike, that story expands. She's no longer just answering questions about opponents. She's fielding questions about legacy, culture, and commerce. And she knows the script. She has to. One wrong tone, one moment of frustration, and she becomes a headline for all the wrong reasons. The pressure isn't new to elite athletes, but it's rare to see it this concentrated, this early. Still, she keeps firing. Long-range bombs, transition threes, off-the-dribble pull-ups. Clark's game remains audacious. That's what got her here in the first place. And every made shot justifies the rollout. Nike's marketing is tied to those arcs. When the ball splashes through, the brand breathes easy. When it bricks, it gets quiet. Because in the end, everything about this deal comes down to whether she can keep delivering in real time. But you can feel the unease creeping in. Not because she's faltering, but because the machine she's caught in won't let up. The more she succeeds, the more she's expected to carry. And the more she carries, the more people wonder if the system's even fair. What about the stars who came before? What about the ones still grinding in her shadow? Can one player's breakthrough really lift the league if the spotlight stays on her alone? Or does it just reinforce the idea that visibility is something you have to look a certain way to earn? The emotion in her close-ups tells the story better than most press releases. The joy, the nerves, the exhaustion, it's all there written across her face mid-game. And Nike's smart enough to know that authenticity sells. But there's a difference between showcasing someone's human side and commodifying it. The more her image is stretched to fit marketing goals, the harder it gets to separate the athlete from the asset. Still, Clark speaks like someone who gets it. She doesn't play victim. She doesn't pretend she doesn't know how big this is. She talks about her goals, her gratitude, the opportunity to grow the league. She's diplomatic, without sounding robotic. That's not easy, especially when every answer gets clipped and shared across 5 platforms before she's even left the room. The fact that she's maintaining that composure speaks volumes. But the hits, literal and figurative, keep coming. She's getting tested on the floor, pushed around, challenged every game. Opponents know what she represents now. Playing against her isn't just about defense. It's about making a point. And fair or not, she'll be expected to take all of it and still show up for cameras. Because this isn't just basketball anymore. It's a business move on full display, and the product is her. So now that Nike has made its move, all eyes are on Caitlin Clark. And not just to see if she wins games, but to see if she can carry the weight of an entire industry's expectations. Is this a breakthrough moment for women's sports, or just another one-player hype cycle? What do you think? Is the spotlight on Clark opening doors to the league, or just reshuffling who gets a stand in it? Drop your take in the comments. And if you want more deep dives into the drama, power plays, and branding chaos of the sports world, hit that like button. Share this with your basketball group chat. And don't forget to subscribe. There's more madness coming.